Hi, I'm Veronica with the Crafty Ladder. Let's talk about the assembly of the frame for the Apothecary Cabinet. You're going to need a pencil, some wood glue, 2 bar clamps. If you don't have bar clamps, don't worry, you can use some bookends, some heavy books, maybe dumbbells, anything that'll help you keep the frame in place while the wood cures. You're also going to need a couple of wipies or some wet paper towels. That's just to help you clean up the glue that might seep out of the edges. So when you open up the file for the Apothecary Cabinet, you're going to find a few SVG files. Let me show you what that's going to look like. You'll see that the first file says, cut this first, find the right frame size. If you'll please cut that first, you'll be able to get a tool that's going to hopefully make the rest of the process that much easier. So the tool that I'm referring to is really just a couple of plates with for tongue and groove. Let me hide this. And this is what I'm talking about. So we're calling this the tongue, and these are all of the grooves. So we recommend that you use 1/4 inch wood when you cut out the pieces for the Apothecary Cabinet. That's just going to give it more stability. And the first groove here is 0.20, so you'll want to test to see whether the tongue fits inside of that particular groove. If it doesn't fit, you know, if it just doesn't fit at all, or if it's a little too snug, you might want to go on to 0.21, and it goes all the way through 0.26. Now we know that wood is called 1/4 inch wood, but it actually doesn't measure that. If you've got digital calipers, then you don't need this tool, but if you prefer to use something like this, or if you do not have calipers, then this is going to work for you. So 1/4 inch wood, 0.25, but that's not going to work. The groove is way too wide, and so you won't be able to get a secure joint. Now remember that you're going to use wood glue, so for my project here, I did not go with 0.20, even though this fits in there nicely, because I knew I had to account for some of the glue. So I went ahead and went with 0.21, and the cabinet looks great. Now, one thing that I do want to caution you about is that depending on the software that you are using, I use Lightburn. When you open up the file, you might find that the measurements have changed a little bit. So just double check. So look at the groove for 0.20 and make sure that it does measure at 0.20. If not, just make that adjustment, and the same for the rest. I went ahead and put a hole in each one. That way you can go ahead and put them on something like a binder ring, or maybe a piece of twine, and this will be something you can use for other projects. I just find that something like this works really well, and I have found it to be handy. Alright, so once you determine that you're going to use, for example, 0.21 is what I went with. So let me show you that menu again. So then I will go in and I will open the one that says frame size 0.21. And when I do that, I will get the pieces that I need for the frame. You're also going to need to cut the file that says 2 of 6. So you'll go down to that one as well and cut that. So we're not going to cover in this video how to cut the drawers and the lifts and spacers. We'll cover that in a separate video, because otherwise this one would be way too long. So alright, let me go ahead and hide this again. Okay, so let's say we determine 0.21, we find that file, we cut that file, and we're going to get the pieces that we need for the cabinet. So this I'm calling the face of the cabinet, and then you have these other pieces. Let me turn this around so we can build it up from there, because you do want to do a dry fit. So this is A1 and A2. Just refer to those as rails. Now, one of the mistakes that I made at the very beginning was that I went ahead and centered these up, and I thought, oh, that's good to go. But no, you're going to need to do the dry fit, which means without any glue. Do the dry fit, come in here and check to make sure that all of the pieces do fit together. That was another issue, because some of the pieces didn't fit, so then that's when I realized, well, the grooves aren't, the tongues aren't fitting into the groove, so I had to go ahead and make the adjustment, and then I determined I need to make a tool for everybody so that it's easier to use. So go ahead and fit this in. Now that was C1, and it fits in there. And you always want to check here at the bottom. Let me see if I can make an adjustment so that you can see. You want to make sure at the bottom that it's matching up. You do not want this to extend beyond, because that will make the cabinet unstable, and we don't want a wobbly cabinet. So these are the feet of the cabinet. Let me turn that around. These are the feet, and you would think that they would fit in the center, but for some reason on some I found that it worked, because I've made about 9 of these already, and for the first couple it worked, but then the rest I was having, or the next one I had issues, so I said nope, we're gonna have to use a little bit different technique here. So set up the rails. Come in here with these walls here. And these are the cross pieces, B and D. So B goes at the top. You'll find that there is a notch at the top here. So you'll go ahead and set that in. Oh, and just a reminder, you want to go ahead and paint everything up before you actually do the dry fitting or painting. So paint everything up first. Otherwise, it's too much of a challenge to go in and paint everything once you've assembled the cabinet. And then this D is the cross piece that goes here in the back. Let me move that up. It goes here in the back. Now everything, of course, is wobbly right now because it's just dry fit. It's a dry fit. No glue. But we're getting the idea here. And again, we're going to come down to the bottom and we're going to make sure that everything's flush and as centered and tight as possible without glue. It's pretty nice there. And once you have a good feel for it, looks straight as possible, everything looks pretty tight. Again, take your thumbs and check here at the bottom. Let me turn this around and see if we can get a better view. I think that might be a little bit better. So let me just take my finger and run it through here at the bottom. And you're checking to make sure that it's flush. Getting it as tight as possible. You want to take a little bit of time with this just to make sure everything is as centered as possible. And you're going to come in with your pencil next, and you're going to mark up where these rails are. And that is so that once you actually put the glue on, things will go back in place as they're supposed to. So just take your pencil, make a mark here, come over to the other side and make a mark here, and that'll guide you. Now the reason that we do this is because once we take this apart, if we put the A1 piece, let me take this apart. If we put the A1 piece and A2 piece too far apart, then this cross piece will not fit. It won't reach. It'll be too short. If we put them too close together, then this cross piece will be too long and it won't fit. So that's why you want to go in and mark, do the dry fit, mark up with your pencil, and then you're going to be good to go. Just remember to keep things flush here at the bottom. All right. So for the wood glue, I recommend, based on a recommendation that I received from two lovely ladies, mother and daughter team over at Peach and Valley Designs. That's Rhonda and Casey. Go over, give them a follow on Facebook, and they have a membership group. Join that. It's fantastic. So they open it a couple of times a year, so when that becomes available, you might want to consider that. And if you have any questions, just give me a holler. And so they recommended this particular glue, which is a Tide Bond Quick and Thick, and I've been using it for quite some time, for probably a year now, and it works great. And I've also used Tide Bond the original, another wood glue. It's fantastic. You can use Gorilla wood glue. Whatever wood glue you want to use, go for it. What I do want to suggest is super glue, CA glue, stick fast, that kind of glue. You just got to be careful because it's going to set up on you really quickly, and that's going to be a challenge for you if you need to make an adjustment with the pieces. So I also always keep mine in a tin, or this is my water well, so I keep it so that the glue is just flowing down, and I don't have to wait for it, because when you have it like this, and you got to wait for it to flow down. So and this bottle is already, it's almost needs a replacement, and I do have a backup over there, but we're going to see how far this one will take us. So we are ready to glue up. So you want to be generous with the glue. You just want to make sure you get enough on the piece. And I just use my finger to spread it around. Works great. That's what the wipies are for cleanup. Now sometimes I just go overboard with the glue, and that's okay, because if it seeps out of the edges, you can just clean that up with the wipey. It does dry clear, so you shouldn't have any issues. You can get some of that excess off by kind of rubbing the other piece, and that takes some of it off. Alright, so I've got my pencil line here, so I'm going to use that as my guide. Just making sure that it's nice and flush here at the bottom. Now again, it's going to give you some time, so that if you've got to make an adjustment, it won't be a big deal. If you got to move it around, it won't be a big deal. You'll be able to do that. This goes pretty quick. The first one is the one that's going to, of course, take you a little bit longer as you're getting used to putting everything together, but it's really a quick process. Okay, follow the pencil line. Again, take your thumbs and make sure that everything's nice and flush here at the bottom. Now remember, right here, it may not look like they're centered, but you did the dry fit. You want to make sure that it fits back here, and nobody's going to see the back anyway, so it's no biggie if it doesn't look centered. It's going to work, which is what's important. It's going to keep the face and the cabinets that are in the front in place, and that's what's important. So I am just adding some glue to the tabs, or the tongues here. And you also want to make sure you get glue on any point that there's going to be some contact made between pieces of wood. That's where you want to add some glue. And just go in there and spread it out. So for this particular one, the entire rail is going to make contact. So you want to go ahead and get glue across all of it. Even the little edges of the tabs or the edges of the tongues. You want to do that. Make sure you get the other side as well. And again, if it's overboard or it oozes out, you can just clean it up. So this one is C2. It doesn't matter if you put it on this side or that side. They're identical pieces. So now this one. And I'm going kind of quick. I just hit that, so it's probably moves. Just, you've got time, remember, so don't worry about it. Don't panic. And I'm going kind of quick, so when you do yours, you can take a little bit more time. I'm trying to go quickly for the video's sake, for your sake. Okay, so this one's going to go in there. And the cross piece right here is B. And we're going to add glue to the edges of the tongue, or each side of the tongue. And I know I'm getting some on the sides. You can see I'm being a little bit messy, and that's okay. You can go and clean it up afterwards. Alright, so we're going to get this into the top grooves. So we are going to have to make a little bit of a movement here. That's what's so great about the glue. It just gives you time to work. And with super glue, you just don't have that time. Okay, nice. And so there was some movement. I can see because the pencil line is off a little bit. And I'm checking here at the bottom, making sure it's flush. And now we're ready for D. And just that bottom edge is going to make contact along with the sides. It's messy, but it's so worth it. I want to say it's addicting. I've made 9 and I have plans to make more. So I think you can see behind me I've got the black one, the white one, the brown one, the red one. There's a yellow one there too. I've done a dusty blue, a dusty pink, a darker brown one. Alright, we're going to get that in there. Excellent! Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, check again, make sure it's flush. I'm looking in these areas here just to make sure that the gaps are being closed in, and they are. I'm checking with my thumbs here at the bottom. Turn that around. Making sure it's flush, and each edge is definitely flush. So now it's just time for some cleanup. So that's when those wipies come in. I'm gonna clean my fingers up a little bit first. And then just get in there and clean up that excess glue. Not that anybody's going to be seeing the back, but we know we want it to look nice as possible from the back and the front. Yeah, so I'm so excited about making more of these. I hope you are too. I just love apothecary cabinets. The whole idea of storing things, squirreling things away, it's just, I don't know what it does. I was talking about how it's like pockets in a dress or in a skirt. You know, it's just it's one of those things that just makes you happy. And well, with an apothecary cabinet, all those drawers, squirreling things away. You must just tap into something, some kind of inner need. So, just getting all that excess off. And don't forget, I'm about to turn it to the front. Don't forget to do that. To the front meaning so that I can see this part of it. And look at the seams. I didn't do too bad on these. Just look at it from every angle so you can get the glue off. These little exposed edges. It's time for a new wipey. And just be careful that you don't put so much pressure that it moves things out of whack. And the wood glue is already setting up, which is fantastic. But give it 24 hours at least, or depending on the glue that you're using. But I like to give this one at least 24 hours before I start building the drawers on the front. And so we're not done, because I do recommend that you use clamps. And I'm going to have Guillermo do a video for you on clamps. So there are all different kinds of clamps out there, and some to me are really intimidating. They just look like they've got knobs here and handles there, and so, but we found this set for I think about $40 on Amazon, and the brand is Jorgensen, and so they're fantastic. So all you need to do is come on in, and you're going to want to clamp two places, where the B cross piece is and where the D cross piece is. So we'll come in with, for the B cross piece, I need to move this other cabinet out of the way. Here we go. I think it's a little bit too tight, so I'm going to open it up. With this one, it's got a little lever here, and so, or a little button push tab. I don't know the terminology, but so we'll go in, and all you got to do is squeeze the handle, and it's going to start squeezing that in. And you just don't want to over tighten. So just enough, you'll feel it, it tightens up, and you can look on from the inside and you can see that the gap closed. And again, if you hear that, that is either Goldie or Blackie drinking water, because the water bowl is right on the other side of me. So sorry about that. And now you want to use the bar clamp here on the cross piece D. And it's Blackie. Good father. Good boy drinking his water. So good Blackie. Okay, and so that's it. So I didn't even get that on camera. But basically I just put it here at the top. Let's just do that again. You loosen it up by pushing this little button here, and then you just squeeze the handle. It's really easy, and I really like these clamps. So that's it. You go ahead and let this set up for about 24 hours, and then you'll be ready to put the drawers on the front of the cabinet if you've got them ready. So in the next video we'll talk about how to get those drawers ready so that you can glue them to the face of the cabinet. Alright, thank you so much. If you have any questions, if you need any help, please reach out to me. I'm Veronica, and you can reach me at thecraftyladder@gmail.com. Alright, we'll see you on the next video.